All right. Do you have it?
Working, yes.
Experimenting going live in multiple places at the same time. I know that it might not work.
Might not work, friends. All right, Instagram, go hang out on Facebook. We can do an Instagram later. Sorry, we tried.
It's not going to work. We tried it.
Too much echo.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to try it, guys, for those of you who are on Facebook. And if you are on Facebook now, I want you to go ahead and start a watch parties so that we can get this message out, guys. But the reason why I wanted to try on Instagram is because one of the things I've been trying to heal this year that I invite all of you to heal is my relationship with technology. So I keep hearing this all the time from women. I'm not good at technology. I can't do technology. And yes, we can tap on it. Yes, we can do things on it. But there's only one way to actually heal it, and it's taking the action, being in the discomfort, and getting over it. So that's why I was trying. I'm becoming very willing to be imperfect. And I think that healing technology require a radical permission to suck at it. And so if you are giving yourself that permission, you're like, oh, I can suck at it, like for real, then you're open to try things without having that mean anything other than that. So Chelsea really did help me a lot with my fear of technology. And it was funny because she's actually pretty good at technology. And many times I had to tell her, like, dude, I don't know what the hell you're saying. Just because I need a translator. And guys, I mean, I'm so bad that when I started on the online space that I've been coaching and training people for years, I had to Google like everything, like tag, hashtag, like the craziest thing that you take for granted. I didn't know. And so if you're out there and you're a woman that, or a man, although if you're listening to this, you probably are a woman, in my page at least, you know, and if you feel like you have this desire to get out there and share your message, but you feel blocked by technology, you feel you're not as well versed with technology as some of your peers, don't be afraid. It's possible. Not that right now I feel ultra comfortable with it, but I've gotten into this place where I allow myself to try it, and I allow myself to be not great at it. And I promise you, there's no atomic bomb that explode when you fuck up on the technological issue. It feels that way, but nothing explodes. We actually still breathe and we can still survive. So before anything, I got here Chelsea Quint. For those of you who don't know her, you should. Chelsea is a trauma-informed business coach, but she is also a super impressive healer. And that's the way, at least I see her. That's the way I work with her. Number one as a healer, and all the other thing as a mean to healing. So welcome, Chelsea Quint.
Thank you.
One person watching right now. I want to out this because, you know, I think one of the biggest problem when we go live and is seeing this freaking the eye with the number, and it's so discouraging because yes, people may watch it later. Yes, people may comment later, but it's so hard to stick to the plan, to keep going, to keep sharing when you see with this engagement, right? We are going on this live black hole that is the internet, that to me is like a black hole. And then we are looking at these things, and I see in the eyes of the person talking and going live that they look at the number of people engaging and they come out, right? It pulls you out because you feel, why? What? My work doesn't matter. And what I like to do, I like to out it for me because it allows me to hear how ridiculous it is. Because that I came in for the number of the eye on the place, then I may as well. That's not really the reason why, right? That's not the reason why we share it. How do you feel about that? About the engagement and the people watching it?
So I have so many feelings. First, I want I want us to call that what it is. There's such a tendency to immediately make meaning of it and feel like there's something wrong with me or I should be more confident, or then all of a sudden create this story that, oh, the reason that I'm not as successful as that person, or getting all of the clients, or making the money I want to be making, or fill in whatever goal, right? We immediately jump in and create this story of, oh, it's because I have low engagement, no one watches me. We make a story that my message doesn't matter, I'm not interesting, I'm not valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of almost hold it in the present moment and make the number of viewers mean something about who we are right here and right now, when really what is happening here is that any and all past wounds, past traumas, past patterns, and also just the part of you who is human, to dislike rejection is to be human.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you've done all of the healing in the world, rejection is going to sting less, potentially, take you out for a shorter period of time, certainly. But to avoid rejection is to be human. That is actually a survival instinct that is still within us. So if you catch yourself in the moment of, you, Raquel, or anyone watching, or anyone, catch yourself in the moment of, oh my gosh, I have like tunnel vision on the number of people watching, nobody's watching, nobody cares, I'm never going to be successful, everyone else did, and go down that rabbit hole. Let's call this what it is. It's just a wound being activated, and you have a choice in that moment of, do I want to keep going down this rabbit hole? Sometimes you do. Sometimes it takes you a while to notice you're down the rabbit hole, and then you're way at the bottom and it takes you some time to climb back up. But do I want to go down this rabbit hole, or do I want to say, interesting, wow, I'm feeling really hurt by that person who just stopped watching my live video. I feel rejected. I feel abandoned. Where do I feel that on my body? How can I process this? When did I feel this feeling before? And go back originally, because this is only a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
The intense response that you feel around people aren't paying attention to me is only a current, present day symptom of past experiences, past trauma. So that's the kind of bird's eye view I have of this. I also want to, I started giving myself permission to do this probably earlier this year, I think. For a long time, I had this story that like, I can't block that out or ignore it. Like literally like put a sticky note on my phone, or like ignore it or whatever, or like turn my phone brightness way down. Like I told myself, I have to look at that, because otherwise I'm bypassing it. I'm like ignoring the pain. That's not necessarily true, right? And so
it's a choice, right?
Absolutely. And it's also, what do you need? Is it valuable for you to sit there and have the experience when you're going live? Is it valuable and healing and nourishing, or challenging or stretching, growing, whatever, for you to sit there and have the moment of like, okay, I notice myself getting dysregulated because only X people are watching. I'm going to stay regulated. Is that valuable to you? Sometimes for me, it's not. And you know what I do? I freaking put a Post-it note at the top of my phone. If I'm on Instagram or on my screen, I put a Post-it note or a little colored piece of tape.
I love that. That is like the same thing as, unfollowing people that on Instagram because they don't make you feel good for whatever reason. There's nothing wrong with those people and they may be extremely nice. But if you keep seeing yourself being activated by it, so definitely I think this is an important conversation, because actually a lot of people probably watching this are in the coaching industry. A lot of the people that are in my group, or they want to be in that, or in some level of that, and in yours as well. So I think that it's such a big part, the feeling invisible in this industry. And there's this desire on one hand to wanting to share a message, wanting to be, to participate, to deliver, to help, to serve. And then there's the little girl in us getting activated and be like, why nobody cares? So in one way, I love this idea of the poster that I never thought about it. Never even thought about the idea of taking it away from my phone, because here's where the technology comes. I don't know how to do that, but I could Google that if I wanted to. But
you can't turn it off.
Take it off. Okay, cool.
You can't turn it off.
Post it.
I literally physically block it, whether on my computer or my phone. It requires a little more preciseness with
but it's good. It's a good idea, because I think so much of the doubt comes in the engagement and in the response, and it's really like the thing I was speaking before on a podcast is the same thing that is going on with a woman and her body, and now being at home, stuck at home, and not having that visibility of what we wear, right? Of not having that moment of reward, and this being at home is really forcing us to look at things as, do I want to do it for me? Do I want to wear that nice, things for me because there's for no one to watch? Do I want to do my hair for me? It's really getting us to that place. And I can see, despite the fact that so many times I always thought I would always do it for me, there was so much of still that wanting to, I wouldn't, validation is such a big word. It's not just validation. It's just the attention, the participating into the response, into having the mirror response, that it is validating, but it's even not necessarily as deep. It's just to have that confrontation, right? That mirror out there and say, oh, you look great today, Chelsea. You love your hair, or love that outfit. And then you have in your PJ, I'm just wearing this sweater for like 4 days now. And it takes shifting the reason why we do things, and the shifting the reason why we want to do things. And really forcing us to look into why is it, and is to just do it moved by the desire that I have, and how much connected can I stay to that? Because I think that's also the challenge here. How connected can I stay to that intention? Because you can go in with that intention, then you see the number going down, and like, that goes off. And I think that's why it's so important to listen to a suggestion like yours, such as putting the post in, because if you're getting triggered by certain things, such as how many people are commenting, how many people are looking, it's really wise to make a choice, to stand for what makes you feel more protected, in a way, to protect that higher self, to protect that more vulnerable person that is here to share something really valuable and special about herself. But I wanted to ask you something about trauma, because one of the things that I was mentioning to you right before coming in, that I keep seeing over and over, is that women that I work with think often of trauma. They come into the coaching space thinking that trauma means just few extreme horrible things that could have happened to you. So there are a list of tremendous events that are catastrophic, physically and emotionally. Generally, physically is a big one, that women identify as trauma, such as sexual abuse, physical abuse, having, an alcoholic parent, being part of sex trafficking, like really things that we see on the news, right? But trauma is bigger than that, right? I'm not saying that that's not trauma. Trauma, it's wider, broader, and has a lot of different texture and shades that affect our existence. So I'd like you to explain that a little bit for them, for people that may not know what's going on with trauma.
Absolutely. And I think one of the reason that I like to explain this, and that I teach this work, and that I think it's a really important question. Stop it. I don't have human children, but I still have to manage these fur babies. I think it's so important because something I see so prolific in the personal development industries, the coaching industries, wellness industries, is women who, and men actually, I work with a handful of men as well, and it's not universally women, humans who believe and keep replaying this tape that something is wrong with me, but then they're like, but it's not trauma, but it wasn't that bad. So you're simultaneously in this loop of there's something wrong with me, I have to fix it, but it wasn't that bad. And you're almost in this loop of gaslighting yourself. And it can fall into this trap of I'm too weak, or I'm not good enough, or I'm too sensitive. And we can pathologize ourselves and put these unkind, judgmental labels on my life wasn't so bad. What's wrong with me that I can't just be happy, or I can't just feel good about myself?
Right.
That pattern, that paradigm is one of the primary reasons that I think it's so important to change, look at, question our definition of what is trauma. And I like to think about trauma as it's on a continuum, trying to figure out, on a continuum. And on one side is stress. So it's the regular stress of you're driving and the person in front of you slams on the brakes and like your heart rate accelerates a little bit. You feel some adrenaline, you feel some tingles, right? You have this somatic and mental reaction to that kind of stress. Or you get a phone call from your boss and all of a sudden you see an email come in and there's like, is it bad? Is it something, right? Like stress is on one side. And then it does move up to capital T trauma, like all of the big things that you mentioned, right? Like the things that we see on Law and Order SVU or other shows like that, or people like soldiers, folks in the military go to war and experience capital T trauma. It's a spectrum, right? Yeah. And from a nervous system perspective, all that means really is biological perspective. I think it's really useful to look at and understand trauma through the lens of animals, because ultimately we are just animals with really complicated, gigantic brains and really frontal lobes are the part that make us human. But without going too far down the brain rabbit hole, we are animals. And what is the point? What is the primary agenda of your brain and your body?
Survival.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it does that. Our brains and bodies at a core level, primal, biological, hardwired level, are designed to constantly take in data. The vast majority of that we are not consciously aware of. You are not consciously aware of all the things that you see right now, but your eyes are taking all of it in and your brain is processing it and making sense of what's important, what's not important. Same with with all of your senses.
Yeah.
And your brain also has the ability, the more conscious part of your brain also has the ability to create sensory experiences and create data, right? We all have had, I would imagine we all had the experience of being able to think ourselves into feeling really anxious and panicked, really angry, or feeling really embarrassed. I know I'm constantly like, why did I say that? You're so weird. And then my brain will go down this rabbit hole of like, what's wrong with you? Why did you use that word? Why are you so weird? Why are you so awkward? Now everyone hates you. And all of a sudden I'm having this response that my body perceives as a threat to survival.
Yeah.
Because my body, your body, our bodies are not logical. That is frontal lobe.
Yeah.
That's it. So, from a very simple perspective, we can look at trauma as anything that your nervous system perceives as a threat, particularly your autonomic, your body nervous system. Now, depending on the perceived severity of the threat, it's going to have a different response. It's going to register and stay in your body and your brain as trauma differently based on the perceived severity of the threat. And that ultimately, the event in and of itself isn't trauma. It is traumatizing, but the event in and of itself isn't the trauma. The trauma is how your body, brain, that's your body, right? How they respond to it, how they process it, and how they store it and then continue to hold on to it over time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think also what happens then many times when we get triggered and we think like that wasn't a big deal. Yeah, the thing wasn't a big deal in itself, right? But it triggers, it reawakens that older trauma, that memory, right? The threat. It's almost like it's a similar kind of threat that opens up our bag full of threats and gets out of control. Because that's the thing I always deal and realize. I didn't think that was a big deal. I'm like, well, you're not just reacting to this one episode. That is triggering and reawakening all these other things. And to me, it's so fascinating because I believe that body weight is very much connected to that. The same way that our body, the reptilian brain perceives our opinions about our body. When women say, I'm so fat, I just can't lose weight, I'm so fat. It goes in and it activates that reptilian brain, which then causes the whole body to go under stress. And the body that goes under stress to hold on to fat storage rather than release it and be in this, ability to metabolize it and experience our body differently. So I think that trauma is so linked, but it's somehow not popular to talk about. And I hear what you're saying, like in our industry, when women defend this so much, they're nice, they provided me with everything. And it's almost like saying, hey, the way they behave traumatized me, or I experienced a trauma because I was highly criticized, equals they were horrible people. Not necessarily the kindest people can even be, we all do the best that we can. But there are episodes, there are moments that somehow I've created this memory. And I remember specifically you saying these words, like trauma is just pretty much any reaction, any response that we got from a stress response that our body had. And it's not necessarily dependent on that, on the kind or the shape.
Absolutely. So, and it's important to remember that when you're in the experience of, I got really triggered, but that wasn't a big deal, there are two different parts of you activated. The part of you who is sitting here logically thinking about, it's not a big deal if one person is watching. It's not a big deal if someone unsubscribed or unfollowed me or whatever the thing is. That part of you, from a biological anatomical perspective, is like frontal lobe. It is the newest part of your brain. It is the most conscious part of your brain. It's your adult self, the logical part of your being. The part of you who had that reaction is living in your body. It's inner child. It's a younger part of yourself. It's a nervous system response. And so this is one of the places where bypass comes in, is basically all you are doing is invalidating yourself in that moment, right? You're invalidating yourself by saying, that wasn't that big a deal. Can you imagine? And I do, Raquel, I do this exercise. I've done it with you. Can you imagine seeing a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a child having a big reaction and being in pain and crying and let's say they're, at recess and kids won't play with them, so they feel rejected. Can you imagine saying to them, like, that's not that big a deal? Yeah. Go play by yourself. I mean, maybe some people would, but I can't imagine saying that to someone. But that is what I say to myself. That's what I'm doing to myself. Every time I say, like, that's not a big deal. And then I am slamming a door shut that was a portal for more healing, a portal for more self-confidence, calm, worthiness, abundance, freedom, fulfillment. Like, all of these things, all these buzzwords, so many of us are like going around trying to buy all the programs looking for. The moment that you say, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal and ignore it, you have slammed the door shut on that opportunity. And it's not like it's too late. The door will open again. You'll have eternal moments, right? Like, I don't want to create like a scarcity. Now I've missed it. Like, no, you're fine. You will get triggered again.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's constant, at least for me. It's totally constant.
And there are phases, right? There are waves. I think a lot of us, and not everyone, but there are a lot of folks who are in a pretty intense wave of feeling triggered and reactive and responsive right now for a lot of reasons. But I feel like the ocean and water is such a good teacher for us in the realm of healing and emotional unraveling, processing, etc. Because the ocean doesn't, it's always moving. It's always waves. It's always waves. There will always be peaks and valleys.
No, totally. And I think like one of the things that we always talk about and that I love about your perspective is that business is, starting your own business, working on your own business is an accelerator for your personal growth, in the sense that it triggers you in so many ways. It's so triggering to have your own business. I have some of my clients that we watch this. We talk about this all the time. The moment that you post something, are they gonna like it? It's really the ultimate moment where you are constantly, because in business you have to show up not just once in a while, but consistently. At least that's the idea. Putting yourself out there, right? It's like I love when you say the difference between dating, try to work on your relationship, your relationship with relationships when you're single, or trying to work on it when you're out there dating. So business, to me, it's so similar to dating. I hated dating, but I remember the dating, like, has he called me? Did he text? Did he do? Did he like me? That's the feeling that brings up having your own business. And so it's such a wonderful opportunity to see it and to choose differently, right? To do this one part of your life differently, to heal it, to witness that you're freaking out, and to secure that little girl, and to choose a different path, and to devote yourself to practices of healing. I know you invest yourself in healing with practitioner. I invest a lot in that because I believe it's my number one commitment, right? Unless, especially if you are out there and you're listening to this and you want to be a coach, you want to keep investing in yourself and in your well-being and in your own healing. It's an ongoing job, your number one priority, because otherwise you're not really in a position, I think, to get out there and serve others in the right way. But can you tell a little bit about how you see business as this accelerator for growth, of this platform to explore that? And I love your cat going in and out.
It's what it is. So this was something that I came to. I come to everything by trial and error, but I very much came to by trial and error because. So I've known the value of healing. For me, that started with therapy, then moved into the yoga space and therapy, then moved into more of the non-traditional spaces that I do. Hey, now the big cat just went and like attacked his little sister while she was sleeping.
Oh,
it's good. So let this be evidence that you do not have to be like perfectly in a little studio to do content.
yeah.
Especially for I'm obviously not a human mother. Hey, stop it.
Yeah, I was saying, said the girl who doesn't have children. Because
but seriously, like,
you would have a different opinion. Like, if I give you my kids for like half an hour, you'd be like, okay, girl, come.
I grew up spending my summers taking care of and working with kids with autism and their siblings. So I think I'd be fine. I'm good with kids. I don't want to.
I'm going to leave them when I come to New York for an afternoon.
By all means, happily. Auntie Chelsea will absolutely. We'll have a freaking blast. You'll come home and they'll be meditating and like the chillest beings ever.
Oh,
Maybe, probably not, maybe. Okay, so business healing. So I came into, when I started this, like, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to start my own business. Let's get on Instagram and post things. I don't know what I'm doing. But when I started all of it, my tendency was toward very masculine strategy, got to kind of learn the things. And early on, I was very seduced by this, like, ooh, what is alignment? What is embodiment? What is feminine flow? I was very, very interested by those principles, but it was not something, I had rejected that part of myself. So when I first started, I was very much all about learning all of the things. And I talk a lot when I teach about folks who get stuck in student mode, mode, and CEO mode, entrepreneur self. Like, these are different identities. They are both valuable parts of your business. They are not the same person. And if student is playing your CEO, you are literally never going to stop buying courses and not going to take action. So that's a bit of an aside. If you've been stuck in student mode, consider this your invitation to do some identity work around who is your CEO, your entrepreneurial self, and start putting them in that corner office, metaphorically speaking, so they can make decisions. Anyway, I bought every course, then found the feminine embodiment, stuff, and was like, okay, now maybe alignment's the problem. I'm not aligned. I'm not manifesting right. My energy's not right. Okay, maybe that's not the thing. So maybe it's my strategy isn't right. Let me go learn about email marketing. Oh, maybe this isn't the thing. So I need to be doing more lives. Like, I was constantly in this space of what's the next thing? Because clearly something's wrong with me and I'm missing something because I don't have $10,000 a month yet. I don't have 10,000 followers on Instagram. I don't have clients buying things as soon as I post something. I don't have the blah, 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 blah. And so I was deeply believing that story of I'm missing something. I need to go buy it and find it outside of me. Until I got to a certain point, and this was probably like a year and a half. I got to a point of massive personal trauma. About a year, oh dear God, it was 6 months into my business, actually. Whew. In my mind, it's different. But 6 months into my business, I had this massive personal trauma that actually it forced me to sort of sit down. And for about 6 months, all I could do, I was sort of teaching a few yoga classes. I had a handful of clients, but for the most part, all I could do was teach my classes, go get in the bath, have my sessions with my therapist, have my group therapy. And other than that, like, all I could do was write and try to meditate and sit with my cards and be in this deep healing process by sheer necessity, just because I was in so much pain. And in that experience of being really kind of pushed into, like, sit the F down, chill out, be with yourself, look at all of this stuff, I developed such potent awareness around all of the core themes that my business was triggering in me. All of a sudden, I could see, what does business ask of me? It asks, and of all of us, right? It asks me to explore my relationship with money and asking for money and receiving money and my own value and what money and receiving it means and what taking it from other people means and all of those textures. It asks us to show up and take up space and express. It asks us to be seen, whether, especially if you have a personal brand and want to do lives like this or show yourself on your stories or share parts of your life. It asks you to set boundaries with yourself, with others. It asks you to be consistent and practice discipline. And in doing so, heal your own relationship with structure and the masculine and committing to things and doing things when they're hard. It asks you to learn new things. It asks a lot of things that mirror really common childhood wounds, really common patterns and distortions that we pick up from our youth and from growing up and living in this world. So it was through that deeply like personal anecdotal experience that I realized like, whoa, I'm basically just walking around like a giant trigger.
Yeah.
And like posting things from a place of, I hope this gets them to like me. Right? It's the thing of, I think about, I was using this metaphor recently of, 13 going on 30,
yeah.
the Jennifer Garner movie, right? Like, it feels like, or like a Mean Girls moment, but especially like Jennifer Garner when she's 13 and like puts together this whole party and like wants everyone to come and gives the invites to the popular girls. Like, I was operating in my business with like that energy of like, like me, here's the invitation to my party. Do you want to come to my party? Oh no, you didn't want to come to my party. I gotta do something more to get you to want to come to my party. And that's where we get into like shadowy textures and wounded healer textures of sometimes we might do something that is a bit manipulative. So many people, I've done this, and I'll say this and then I will pause. So many people I know, myself included, are opposed to using income and flashy numbers and like, the posts about like welcoming this client to da-da-da, like whatever, are opposed to a lot of those marketing tactics, right? Like luxury or money, da-da-da, are opposed to them and think it's problematic. I have felt that way from the get-go. And I've done it. Because most of the time, there have been moments when I've done it where it actually did feel an integrity, and I like talking about money and being able to make it normal to talk about money, but I don't like a lot of the way that it's done in this industry, and I know many others feel the same way, and yet I did it because I bought into this, I let this wound make the decision of like, oh, but this is what I have to do to be successful. This is what I have to do to get the cool kids to come to my party.
So I think what it comes down to is it's not so much anything. There's nothing wrong that you necessarily are doing or can do. It's just whenever we are doing something moved by a deep, desperate desire to belong, to be seen, to be recognized, to be acknowledged, that feeling behind it, it's what's indicating that there's a misalignment there. And it's not the manipulation like you're out sitting out there trying to manipulate people. You're actually manipulating yourself and your own emotions. You like there is potential to be manipulating other people. I want like that shadow that exists. I feel like the girl that's coming and asking people, please come to my party. She's not trying to manipulate the cool girls to come to the party. She's desperately trying to feel enough, to be enough, to feel seen and be with them. I don't feel there's an intention of manipulation. It's not that makes the difference, but I feel like that, and I'm not saying that in this industry there's not people that are out there specifically trying to manipulate, but I feel that sometimes when it comes from this place of, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, and maybe I should do this, I'm missing this, it's coming from a place of lack, that it's internal. And if there's one person that you're playing and manipulating with, is yourself, your body, your emotion, your nervous system first, just chance. And then to me, the feeling is, and it's okay, and it's part of the journey, because part of the journey is to do that so that you can check out and say, hey, that doesn't feel good. I'm not doing that again. I was speaking with a client before I had this group coaching, and they asked me, well, so what happened to your challenge? Raquel, you had the challenge. Like, I put it down. Like 2 days, I promoted this challenge for a day and a half. Actually, didn't think many people noticed it. And then I decided that it wasn't feeling good. It felt like, oh my God, I need to do something. I just released a book. What's the next thing? And so I decided to put it down. and refund the people that signed up. And there was no other reason. It didn't feel terrible. It just didn't feel exciting. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel me now. It was a program that I've developed a year ago that I was revamping, but I feel like I'm another human from a year ago. So I think that's what it is, what it means to your business. It's an accelerator, not just in terms of showing you where you get triggered, but having the opportunity to take action and see how different you respond to that action. What is your willingness to fall and then get up, right? Mm-hmm. I was reading this here in the audiobook, actually, of this book that's called I'm going to pronounce it wrong, The Big Leap.
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay. I love that. I'm having a hard time with the lip, shit. It's just not my thing. I gotta say that shit and sheets is the hardest one, and that gets people most love. Anyway, on The Big Leap, the guy talks about how we always talk about the power of commitment, and the power of commitment is great, but the biggest and most potent power is the power of recommitting. Because it's so easy to commit the first time, right? To say, oh, think about it in a relationship. Oh, I love you. We like each other. There's chemistry. What happened when shit hit the fan? Are you going to recommit, right? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be willing to see that person for the first time? Are you going to start new? And I think the business is that like daily. Like daily. Are you willing to recommit? Yeah. At least for me. And it's, as somebody who I'm very open about suffering from depression. I've suffered from depression since I was 12 years old. So for me, each time that hits that low and acknowledging the low, I'm being with the low, I'm breathing through the low, not bypassing it, but not indulging in it. It's such a struggle. And that's where I think when people ask me, what's your biggest quality? And I think my biggest quality, my biggest strength is my unshakable commitment to heal, and I'm going to be doing it until my last breath. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm going to be doing this business or keep writing books or doing things, but I know that my commitment to keep healing, it's real. I'm very clear it's my responsibility as a human. And I think if there's something that we need more in this world right now is a commitment to that responsibility. Because if we begin to see our business as an opportunity to heal, if you begin to see our body, our relationship with our body, our relationship with food as an opportunity to heal, as an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, to free ourselves, to remove those layers, then it's not just weight loss on itself or business building on itself. It's really a journey into becoming more you and using all these different platforms, relationship, business, body as playground to get that work done. And now we'll have my furry babies that don't have fur coming in and out.
Your human babies?
Yes, my real babies. So yes, really, I wanted to share something with everybody that's watching. Which one? Hi guys. Okay. He's got his. Yeah. Here's the real life. Come, baby. So, I wanted to say something, and somebody told me that just the little one fell and broke his lip. Oh, great. It's great, guys. So before I leave, because now I'm going to have to leave and see what happened to the lip of my kid, is I wanted to invite people to a fast. Chelsea doesn't know this. I want to invite you to fast for 10 days, but to fast from self-doubt, to fast from comparing yourself, to fast from looking. I'm going to add to it, fast from looking at how many people are watching your lives, to fast on scrolling through Instagram just for the purpose of comparing yourself to other women that are doing more, to fast on judging your body for 10 days from December 21st to December 31st. This is not a challenge. This is a proposition. If you feel like it will benefit you, to just use it as a practice to end the years having 10 days of real focus and intention, not practicing that. Because we're so good at saying, let's fast from sugar or gluten, but let's fast from these things. And I also, you see guys here, just Chelsea Quint, she has her Instagram app. I want you all to follow her. This is also going to go on YouTube. And I want you to check out her things and what she does. She does incredible programs. She does a breathwork practice that is amazing. I'm doing it every single week. It's a 90-minute practice that is transformational and that I suggest to everybody. All right? And go get freeyourbodybook.com if you haven't yet, because it's time to release the emotional and physical way. And just she's gonna give it away soon.
I am going to. Everything is moved. I don't know where like any of my possessions.
This problem. Really nice. Freeyourbodybook.com. Get it there. There's awesome bonuses. And yeah, stay committed to your healing. Stay committed to your healing. Stay committed to your healing. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Thank you, love. Good luck to your little. I hope he's okay.